You are now listening to PODCORN, Episode 6, for May 8th, 2013.
Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. And its opportunity for peaceful cooperation may never come again. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon.
Hey, this is Amy Reeder and Brennan Montclair. We're bringing you a PODCORN podcast.
That's right. Big news in this one.
Yes, we just released a new Kickstarter for Rocket Girl.
Rocket Girl, our new ongoing series.
Yeah. You know, Halloween Eve was a great success. We really enjoyed ourselves on that. But it was a single issue. I think we were kind of dipping our toes in a bit. This time it's a series, and it's a really awesome story.
Yeah, that's right. Rocket Girl's something we've been working on for a while now, but we haven't been able to announce it, kind of in anticipation of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Which will have launched yesterday by the time you're hearing this.
Sure, yeah.
Where we're talking about it late on Tuesday night.
Correct.
About halfway through our goal.
Yeah, it's going really well. It's very, very cool to see.
Before we dive in to talking about Rocket Girl, please check out the Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure Chris Robinson, our producer for all these PODCORN podcasts, will put a link in, but easy enough to search too. Do Google for Rocket Girl Kickstarter and Amy Reeder, and
yep,
it'll get you there.
Probably help you find it. But yeah, so tell us about the premise, because that's kind of pretty awesome.
I wrote it. You should tell us about the premise.
But that's the whole point, because you wrote it, and so you know how to say it better. I'm really bad at that sort of thing. You always say that I'm bad at it. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
All right, so,
I don't think I always say that you're bad at it. I'm very supportive of you and your contributions.
Okay. Anyway, so, Rocket Girl, she's a teen cop from the future, sort of. And she goes back in time to the 80s to try and stop this mega corporation for quote-unquote crimes against time. But she starts to realize that, like, the thing that she's trying to fix is this big advancement that basically made her future possible. But the future that she knows and loves is actually like an alternate 2013.
That's right. So it's a large part of it is a period piece, right? That takes place in 1986.
Yeah, most of it's in the 80s.
Which is the world we know. But she comes from an alternate 2013 that has teen cops, for one.
Yeah.
Flying cars, jetpacks, and laser guns.
Yeah, beautiful cityscape, obviously, too.
Right.
And yeah, it's just basically the future that people in the 80s thought we would have by now.
Right, but there was a technological discovery, and kind of changed. It sped up the progress, right? And,
yeah.
And created this different world. And, you know, there's some...
that should never have been.
Should never have been, right? And that's part of the mystery. Why shouldn't have been, and who's behind it, and, you know. But she's kind of a little bull, right? It's like, you know, she's not very subtle. She's just there to, you know, when she kind of crash lands, she's just there to kind of take the whole system down, but it's not that easy, right?
No, it gets much more complicated because they don't even realize what's going on. You know, it's not like they are feeling all that devious. It's a bunch of students. It's a bunch of, like, college students.
And she's just a 15-year-old kid in New York City, and, you know, she has a jetpack and, you know, a chip on her shoulder, but
yeah,
not much else to get stuff done.
That's about it, yeah. So she actually becomes close to some of those students, including this one character, Annie, that she gets much closer to. So that's like a big theme in it, is their friendship and also being very suspicious of each other because they're kind of at odds with each other in other ways. But yeah, no, it's a really cool story. There's a lot of action. I've been seeing online, like, people seem to really grasp what it's all about and what really sells it, and that's probably that it's 80s, and it's jetpacks, and it's futuristic stuff. It's just kind of the sort of thing that people love to read about. Plus, I think hopefully the character already resonates with people.
Yeah, I mean, one of the luxuries of doing a creator-owned book is that you can do something different, something that you wouldn't do at Marvel, at DC.
Yeah.
But that being said, there's a lot of superhero elements that we kind of put into it. It's not a straight-up superhero book, but
no.
She lands into the real world, so to speak, and obviously she causes something of a sensation. So as much as we're talking about the kind of the through line with a thread with her investigation, she really becomes kind of a hero for the city, right? First kind of what is she? Is she real? And then obviously a media sensation as well.
Yeah.
Much like Superman would be or Spider-Man would be, right? So we get to play with a lot of that stuff too.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think a lot of it, like you were saying, it's a love story to the 80s. I think it's a love story to 80s movies.
Love letter, right? Yeah.
Love letter, sorry. So yeah, I mean, like, in the 80s, there were a lot of movies about cops. There were a lot of movies about the future. There were also a lot of stories where kids were the main characters, and yet it felt more adult, and even it was stuff, sometimes it was actually movies made for kids, but they were just less condescending.
Right.
And then sometimes they were made for adults, and there was just a kid main character. Although, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, when did T2 come out? Because I was a kid.
Well, that would be the early 90s, I think, the second one.
Okay.
But, Terminator was an 80s movie.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking like a kid being in charge and it's an adult movie. That one crossed my mind, but I guess it's in the 90s. I don't know. So that's something that I really miss about the 80s is just like how not condescending
you talk about
entertainment was for kids.
Yeah. Well, that's even comics, right? Weren't condescending. You know, people always talk about comics for kids, and Rocket Girl isn't really. It's something for, like Halloween Eve was, teens and an adult audience. Although I think kids could read it. But it's not a kid's book. I've often said this. I remember when Paul Pope was finishing Batman Year 100, and he was working on Battling Boy, which is due out later this year, and said, it's something his 10-year-old nephew can read. And he said, when I asked him, what did you read when you were 10 years old? And he said, Heavy Metal magazine. And when I was 10 years old, it was 1986, and I was, thereabouts, same time as Rocket Girl, and I was reading Dark Knight Returns. I think, I don't think a lot of 9 and 10-year-old kids are watching, Smurfs.
No, not at that point. Yeah.
But you mentioned movies before, and I think another thing that I was very conscious of in kind of creating, putting together the story, and I'm sure you are too. A lot of those 80s movies about the future, about 2013, it was a super advanced world, right? They thought we'd also get to flying cars and jetpacks much quicker than we did.
And I keep
if you watch Back to the Future 2 or Blade Runner,
Yeah, well, Blade Runner, Back to the Future 2, and Akira all will have taken place in our decade that we're currently in. And it's just like, I keep trying to like rack my brain as I watch these for reference and stuff, just thinking like, how much did they really think was true and how much did they kind of realize was an exaggeration and they were just having fun with it? You know what I mean? Do you think they really thought by now we'd have flying cars?
No, who knows, right? I think the reason you said it not too far in the future is because, it's the fantasy, right? People want to think like,
you'll see it in
we'll
your
see
lifetime.
it, yeah, exactly. And even though...
And maybe you'll be there, you'll have kids that are enjoying it.
Right.
It's so weird, though, because, I know this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's so weird to watch these movies and to think the one thing that did happen that was undeniable was aging, and, you've got, like, Marty McFly being a parent, but now he really is an adult. You know what I mean? It's just like, they are all really old, are getting old now, and it's so weird because they were so young in these movies, and that's how I remember them, and they're not anymore. So I don't know, it's kind of interesting, but yeah. So I don't know. Rocket Girl's really awesome, basically, and I've been really enjoying Brandon's scripts. Actually, it's just, I just really think people are gonna be. I don't mean to talk us up too much, but I feel like I'm saying nice things about Brandon more than me is. I think people are gonna be blown away because it's like just such clever stuff. And there's a lot of things that I personally find kind of hilarious too. So I don't know, it's just like a really fun book. And I think people are gonna really love the main character, whose name is Dae-young Johansson. But yeah, so anyway. Yeah. What else do you have to say about it?
Well, tell us about Dae-young Johansson. When we started Rocket Girl, it literally the first time we talked about it, it was under the, I believe the first sentence was, well, you can't do a book called Rocket Girl.
Yeah.
And the idea being that you can't just do a story about a girl that flies around. There has to be a story.
Yeah.
But you liked Rocket Girl so much.
And I made him stop. I was like, wait, stop. Because it's hard to get him to stop talking.
It's hard to get him to stop doing anything.
Yeah, you just keep going. But anyway, and I was like,
I got one
what's
speed.
Rocket Girl? I thought he was like referring to something that I must have somehow missed at some point. And he's like, it wasn't real. That's not the point, And I was like, no. I want to draw Rocket Girl. So it went totally against his point. But yeah, I was like, no, let's try and figure this out. I really want to draw Rocket Girl. And one of the, things that we said soon after that was that the name's got to be taken. But
well, Rocket Girl, if you do a Google search for it, you'll find a million different things.
You'll find some illustrations.
Yeah, a lot of them
smutty.
Yeah, a lot of them tattoos, right?
Yeah.
So, right. But
yeah, not a whole lot.
But you have to design Rocket Girl and make her unique, right? So
sure, yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that was called a
segue.
A segue. Well,
Sorry.
that was called a soft pitch that you were supposed to.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I always pictured her being kind of Mega Man, Astro Boy-esque,
Okay.
So that was some of the inspiration. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happened first for me was the design, and I knew that I wanted it to be like a mostly white costume. I don't even know why, just because it seems advanced that way.
Sure. And also a police officer, right? So black and white.
I don't think she was a police officer to begin with. How soon did you decide that she was going to be a cop?
Pretty early on, because I think I had just those few lines of a teaser.
Oh, yeah, no,
Earlier.
but when we were talking about her costume, I don't think we knew that she was a cop yet.
Maybe I saw the costume and said, well, looks like a police officer.
Oh, well, okay, you know what? When I went in and actually designed her, you're right. We knew that she was a cop.
Well, there's she has the red and blue flashers on either shoulder.
Yeah, that was your idea. That was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and she has like this.
Going to give a little hint to PODCORN listeners, but not too much.
Mm-hmm.
If you know any Korean, you should take a close look and see if you can figure out some hidden stuff on her costume.
Yeah.
Korean. What is the word for Korean caricature?
Hangul.
Hangul. There you go.
I think, right? Yeah.
In Japanese, it would be kanji, right?
No, that it would be Hatakana or something.
What do we know? But
kanji is the Chinese character.
Okay, so yeah.
So Hangul, yeah. But
I asked Amy
Koreans
because
mostly
she took Korean in college.
Yeah, I did for like a year and a half. I don't know why. I like languages, and I had a friend in high school who was Korean, and she taught me how to spell my name and stuff, and I just found it really fascinating. I don't really know Korean at all, but I know how to pronounce it.
And you knew how to design a secret costume.
Yeah, I do. And I also, guys, I got Gangnam Style memorized. Just so you know, that's a little secret too. I karaoke Gangnam Style. It's really the only time that I've ever been able to use the language.
I don't think that's very cool.
I think it's really cool. Okay.
No.
End of conversation.
I guess we'll have to in a future podcast.
What?
Tack that on.
Tack what on?
You singing.
Oh, okay. Maybe. See what you guys think. But yeah, so anyway, so that's kind of a cool element. Her name's Dae-young, who's actually a person we know. A friend of ours is named Dae-young.
Amy's former intern, a good artist.
Yeah. Dae-young Jung. And she
you can find
designs
her
video
on,
games now. She's a graduate from SVA. School of Visual Art.
Is she on DeviantArt or?
I'm never on DeviantArt, so I don't know. But I'm sure if you search her name, I mean, Dai Young is what you see online, Dayoung, and then her last name is Jung.
She was also an intern, I think, for Heidi MacDonald.
Mm-hmm.
Right, at the Beat.
She's really like a go-getter. She's so smart, and anyway, she's one of my favorite people, so...
she's great. We stole her name, but...
We stole her name because it's so good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so Dayoung Johansson is our character. And yeah, she's pretty stubborn. Not the one we know, but the character Dayoung is a stubborn person. She's also, very independent, but
she has a big chip on her shoulder.
Yeah.
But she's also a cop. It comes from a future, and that's, part of
what she knows, yeah.
Right, well, part of the story is kind of, youth, kind of a war on youth also, and growing up and what that means to make compromises throughout life. So I think teens see the world as very black and white, and so in the future, somebody thought that would be a good idea to make them
cops
because they're so idealistic, right? And they can,
they're not easily corrupted.
No, not at all, right? So, because they think they have it all figured out, and they think that there are no shades of gray. So yeah,
and they probably think that being a cop's the coolest thing on the planet, which would make them really value it. You know what I mean? And work really hard. At least that's how I see it with Dayoung. It's like this is something that she's always wanted to do. Right,
but she'd also be too mature to kind of cop to the thrill factor.
Cop to it. That's pretty funny.
Oh, Brandon. Cop to it. There you go.
Yeah.
No, but that's it. So there's a lot of opportunities for humor.
Yeah. Some cool stuff. I don't even want to spoil.
But there's a brattiness to it, so it's like, but fun also.
Yeah.
An influence was Carrie Kelly, the girl Robin from Dark Knight Returns. Nice. Or even, some of. I think that character was kind of repeated by Miller in, Year One and also All-Star Batman. When it became, the Batgirl character. Just like I said, the bratty crime fighter who, she thinks she can do anything, but you know what? She actually continues. She can, right? Because who's going to stop her? Well, we'll see. Basically. But I know one of the visual influences also for you was, Chief Justice Inaba from Shimura.
Oh yeah, yes, of course, yeah. Because we've actually reviewed the book on a podcast for Halloween Eve once. Frank Whiteley did a book a long time ago, probably one of the first things that kind of got attention for, I would say. It was like a Judge Dredd universe thing, but it happened in Japan in the future, and it's called Shimura, and it's mostly that guy is a guy, but then there's this Judge Inaba or something, and it's mostly about her trying to get like.
Amy fell totally in love with the book.
Oh, it was so great. Well, I really love it. It's one of my favorite things by Frank Whiteley. I really like it when he colors himself. I just feel like the palette is really good and really lends itself to the storytelling. And I feel like he knows how to color himself best because he renders things so differently, that I think only he can color himself. But yeah, so anyway, the design's really awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of that influence there too. So if you like her costume, you should try and look it up. I think the book's maybe a little hard to come by, but I don't know. You tell me.
I think they reprinted it recently again.
Oh, okay.
Rebellion. It's been in and out of print in the United States, but I think often enough that you can get it on eBay or Amazon, and there might be a current printing of it. But
cool. Yeah.
But also with design, it's obviously 1986, and I think a lot of comic artists can basically do whatever they do every day, and just maybe they'll throw in a couple of things to make you think it's 1986, but you're all in with this stuff. I mean,
do you think most people see? I don't know. What
unfortunately,
do.
Exactly. I mean, you're from the hair to the clothing to what's on the street. It is a period piece. In 1986,
I'm glad you think that. Like, I worry that I missed something.
But 1986 was a different world, you know?
Yeah.
And
especially in New York, right? Which is where this is taking place. It's a lot more rough and tumble. I mean, like, I moved here 3 years ago, and it's a pretty safe place to be. But everybody always likes to talk about how rough it was in the 80s,
yeah.
and some people complain about it.
When it was a cesspool, people have romantic memories of it.
People just really miss it. So
I can say cesspool because I lived here.
It's a cesspool.
Yeah.
But so we've got a lot of that there, and corrupt cops.
But that's the flavor. What about not designing? What about actually drawing? You know, because you worked on something like Madame Xanadu, where you're dealing with, you know,
just learning
all
how
different
to draw
time
the
periods and
era
everything
of the
else.
80s.
Yeah. So, well, is it learning? Is it?
Well, luckily I remember it. You know, I mean, like, I was really little, but I feel like I was aware of it enough that, like, I know what looks 80s. You know what I mean? So sometimes I have to look stuff up, but at least when I'm there, I kind of know I'm there. And I think a lot about what my mom used to wear. That I really did pay attention to. And actually, there's this one dress I did, and your wife, Brandon, she saw it. It's on the double page spread.
Right.
And she's like, that is totally 80s. She was like, her mind was blown or something.
Right.
But it was based off of something I kind of remember my mom wearing. So.
Well, was it in the 80s, or was your mom like 5 years behind the fashion, and it was like 1991 and unforgivable that she would wear it?
My mom was a little bit behind for a little while because she was like an 80s queen, you know, so it took her a long time
to let go.
I don't know how she's going to feel about
I hope
that.
Mrs. Reader ain't listening to your podcast.
But what's funny now is when the 80s are coming back, she like refuses to like them because she, you know, I think it's gotten really burnt in her brain that the 80s are bad and that they're ugly and that she looked terrible back then, but like you see the pictures now and she looks fabulous because the 80s are coming back.
She looks so hip.
She was so great. Oh, my mom. So she's a jazzercise instructor, right? And she still is.
You go through that way too fast. That's something that you should you should pause and let people let that sink in.
My mom.
Your mom teaches jazzercise.
My mom teaches jazzercise, and she's very good at it, and she's very fit. She's like way better off than I am, and she, so like, you know, she used to wear like the bike shorts with the leotard on top of it, and then
my mom
belts.
was a dancer too. Different kind of dancer though.
Brandon, what are you?
My mom doesn't listen to this.
This is so bad.
My mom's never read a comic book I ever written, so.
Okay, well, hopefully, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. My mom's pretty great. So she would like come to teacher-parent conferences in the 80s, but these were like late 80s, you know? She'd come to teacher-parent conferences in elementary school with her like leotard and belt on top of the leotard and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. And she had like really poofy bangs.
Did teachers hit on her and that like made you feel uncomfortable?
No, but like guys would wolf whistle at her and like and like when we were at the grocery store, she felt like some people liked her there. A lot of people thought she was really pretty. I think they still do. But she had like really fluffy hair, you know, and like very poofy bangs. And I was always trying to get my bangs to poof in the 80s. But like it was really hard because my hair just kind of flops down and stuff. But she had really good poofy bangs. And I used to wear like neon stretch pants with like...
You still wear neon stretch pants?
No, I don't.
You have a turquoise pair of pants that are kind of...
They're you know what? They're actually like dark blue, but they're shiny. But that's because I miss the 80s. But yeah, so I wore a lot of neon. That was definitely my thing in the 80s. And yeah, I would wear stretch pants and then like a giant shirt on top. And that was like always what I would wear. And I was really late too. Like I stuck with the 80s for a long time too with my mom.
Right.
Until I started getting... Well, I started getting like really badly made fun of by people in my neighborhood for not owning a pair of jeans. Because I was just all about neon stretch
Did you wear
pants.
leg warmers?
Oh, yes. And I also like, You know how people used to like layer the scrunchy socks? I was like a big time scrunchy sock layer.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, so scrunchy socks look like leg warmers. You know, you like kind of scrunch them down.
Okay.
So like back then, like a lot of times you'd wear 2 pairs of socks or even 3, and you'd like scrunch them down in different layers so there were like 3 different colors on top of each other.
Wouldn't your feet be hot?
Yeah.
Worth it though.
Definitely.
Slave to fashion.
Yeah. And do you remember? And I had like one of those like triple skirts. You know what I mean with the triple layers of skirt.
But that would be one skirt.
Yeah,
not 3 skirts.
It was one skirt. Yeah, but no, like I would usually wear like 2 pairs of socks and like.
I remember for the Eisner Awards, you bought 2 skirts so you could make some kind of double layer of something. Or am I?
No, I bought two of the same dress to add on to it. But yeah, so
what a tangent.
Well, it wasn't as bad of a tangent until you brought up the Eisners, which happened in the 2000s.
Well, it wasn't an 80s style, but it was, making your own clothes. You know who else makes his own clothes?
The girl in Pretty Pink.
Frank Whiteley.
Huh? Yeah, I make my own clothes sometimes. But anyway.
What was Frank Whiteley doing in 1996?
I don't know. Did he start getting famous in 1990, around there?
Or later.
Yeah,
it was definitely later, but I don't know how much later.
So I guess he was in high school or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I'm a big fan of Frank Whiteley, but I really don't care what happened to him in 1986.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you care.
I'm just not that obsessive as you think I am, I guess. But, yeah. So anyway, it's a really good book. Getting back to the subject.
Yeah, we hope it's a good book.
I think so. The first issue's done. And yeah, it's going to come out in October.
Right. A 5-issue arc is kind of designed. And it's a pretty solid, from a structure point of view, it's really a beginning, a middle, and an end, a complete story in 5 issues. We have plans to do more. Hopefully it can go on forever, right?
Yeah,
But we're pretty flexible, and we'll see where it takes us. But we're in it for the long haul.
Definitely are, and it's just like I said, I'm just super duper excited about it. This is definitely the coolest thing that I've ever gotten to draw, and I feel like it's really stretching my art skills, and I'm just really thankful that you guys are getting behind us. It's always like really humbling to experience, and I can't believe we're getting to go through this again. It's awesome.
The support on Kickstarter has been great and really necessary because it is ongoing and it is creator owned. So there's no financing from a publisher.
Yeah,
it'll be available in comic shops also, as a regular monthly series. But we really need the Kickstarter to launch it, right? To keep going. Not to be too cute with rocket and kickstarting imagery, but a lot of support behind it. But Kickstarter's important. Second time that we've done Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And Amy, both of us, but Amy, the platform I think means a lot to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like we'd almost kind of considered going some various routes with this, but it's like we really wanted to do a Kickstarter and involve people. It feels almost kind of empty without it, just because of the whole connection. I don't know. I really do prefer it this way. I like interacting with people. I like feeling like, they want to be involved. It's just really cool. So, I mean, like, I think we even, it's not really all about the money even, it's like we try and make things that are really fair value for the rewards, because we really just want people to get behind it and to read it. So yeah, definitely like let your friends know about it, spread the word.
Yeah, check it out if you haven't, check it out yourselves if you haven't already.
Most definitely.
But if you like these podcasts, I mean, there'll be more kind of opportunities for interactions behind the scenes stuff. If you were along for the ride with us on Halloween Eve, we sent out a bunch of updates, did a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. With
the fans. But Amy just a minute ago was talking about those interactions, and it's important to us, but it's cool too. You know what I mean? It's like maybe it's, I don't know if it's an ego boost, right? It's nice to get the support. It's nice to get people who, knowing that they believe in your stuff, but more so just excited about what you're doing. And
yeah, it kind of feeds the creativity.
That's what I was going to say, that it inspires you and you feed off of it. And, you know, and sharing behind the scenes stuff, you know, for people who are excited about that, it's kind of the least we can do, but that's what makes comics so special. It's still small enough that you can, you know, interact with creators and whatnot.
Yes, most definitely.
And so if you know, check out the Kickstarter. It's definitely a way that you can get involved.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks for listening.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll hear more from you soon.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Goodbye.
But because they are hard, because that goal will serve to organize
Your crew is inferior, my crew inferior. MC killers, milk and cereal. Get it?